Okay, there we go. Figuring out the intro. Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy. And as you can see, once I do this for the very nice background that we have, I am joined with Itzmo, returning once again to the channel. I can't remember when we last did a video on this thing. I know that we did a video on Joker, which I believe was on your channel, but I think it's been a while since you've been on this one. So, and what better topic than to have you on for this, because hashtag release the Snyder Cut is now officially oh damn.
Represented.
Can people go and buy those shirts anywhere? Are they available anywhere, or is this just like a thing that you found?
Oh no, at the store, the link I gave you, they can get it there. They have
okay.
Yeah, there's that one, and then I made one for Ben Affleck, Batfleck Forever. So if you like, I have that one too. I just don't have it with me here in Miami, but if you want to support Ben Affleck, Batfleck, there's Batfleck Forever.
So yeah, all of your links and everything like that to your channel, Twitch, Twitter, the store, everything like that is all in the description down below. We'll plug it again at the end so that people can go there and definitely check out some of your stuff. And if you're new here to us, Cinema Savvy, I'm going to let it run along the bottom. You can do it in your own time. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the socials that we live in the modern world in 2020. So, hashtag release the Snyder Cut. It's been a thing since probably when the movie came out, Justice League in 2017. I think it was... I mean, there've been a lot of films like this where a director has a vision. Granted, the circumstances for Zack Snyder's departure in terms of Justice League were very different to usually a lot of directors for personal family reasons. And then the whole thing kind of got Frankenstein's monster into something completely different. I've read the article. There is a Hollywood Reporter article out there, which I've also linked in the description. I'm not going to bring it up on screen or anything, but I did give it a scan saying that Zack Snyder himself actually hasn't watched Justice League because he believes that maybe a quarter, if that, of the stuff that he actually shot featured in the movie itself. So the fact that, especially with like a very vocal fan base to get this made, a lot of naysayers saying it didn't exist and that it did exist and this whole thing. But I want to get a bit of your insight on this, because the whole hashtag thing, and I mean, you were at protest, you were outside, I believe, Warner Brothers at one point, right? Is that where you were?
But it's not a protest.
You know what I mean. A movement.
That has like a negative connotation, but we were just we just wanted to take a picture. I just wanted to like kind of do something offline, because I'm just the kind of person that I need to actually do something. I feel like doing stuff just staying on the internet wasn't enough. And since I lived in LA where Warner Brothers was, I was like, well, like, why don't I do something there since I'm already here? So I knew there were other fans there, and I just wanted to do something like, just be like, hey, Warner Brothers, like, we know this is a thing. We're not afraid. Like, we will show up and just, wanted to, I don't know, kind of just like show Zach some love, like just show them that he has the support, and that, hey, like, if you want to release that cut, we'll be happy. We want it. So
was there already kind of like a movement going? Was it a lot smaller back then when you did like the whole thing, or were you one of the people that did kind of, because as far as I know, were you the one personally who got everyone together, or was this already something that was planned?
Yeah, I organized the photo, like the hashtag. I did not make up the hashtag, so I just want to make that clear. I saw it online, and I had read and heard about all these other scenes that were in like an earlier cut of the movie that were not, like a bunch of them that were not, and it was confirmed by several people that actually saw that cut, that all these great scenes that weren't in the movie. And I was like, what? Like, the movie would have been so much better. So I felt so bad for Zach, because I, also a filmmaker, not, obviously not as rich and famous as him, but just like from that point of view too, I felt bad, just thinking about how somebody would have messed up something that I had created. And I felt just really bad for him that they, just kind of, I don't want to say ruin his movie, but, I just had a lot of sympathy for him, and I just wanted to show him support and, So I saw the hashtag, and I just wanted to just do something in person, you know, because I felt maybe just being on the internet wasn't enough. And like, I'm not trying to discount what people do, but I'm just that's the kind of person I am. I have actually protested before in terms of like for political reasons.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm just a very active person, and if I can do something like in the flesh, I will do it, just because I'm also just like, I just want to show the powerful people that, you know, it's like, we're not scared. We're not, like, I'm not the kind of person that I just like stay on the internet, don't do anything, but because you can only like, a lot of people, they're very brave, you know, when they're behind, you know, their computer screen, blah, blah, but will you actually go out and, you know, go out on the streets, you know? And I'm that kind of person. So since I could, because I lived where, you know, Warner Brothers was, I was like, well, why not? And so I had made a little video on my YouTube channel basically saying, hey, like, I'm trying to get these people, like, I was inviting people, if you're in the LA area or from nearby and you want to come take this picture with us, cool. And it had spread, and like, I didn't like imagine it would spread that much, like the little Facebook invitation I had made. And people were writing articles before we even took the picture saying like, oh, it's a protest. I'm like, you don't even know, like, do you actually read in the Facebook invitation, it says clearly it's photo op. I called it a photo op. Like, we're just going to take a picture. And nowhere did it say protest. We're not going to be like banging on doors or anything. We literally just want to take a picture, like, and then leave. And you can actually see it on my channel. I posted like kind of like a little behind the scenes thing where you can see us like getting ready to take the picture. And if you look, we don't look all angry. We're not yelling at Warner Brothers. We're just like,
except maybe for the person dressed as Batman. Maybe he looked a bit angry, but that's just Batman, right? So
yeah. So like, if you can see, like, we're pretty calm. We're like, we're just here to take the picture, show support for Zach, and then we just walked away calmly, you know, because we didn't want to, because we did have security watching us and everything when we were taking the picture, so we didn't want to get accidentally shot or anything because it's America. So we're like, we're just gonna take the picture and calmly just like walk away. But people were like driving by and like looking at us, because it's like, why are all these like dressed up like all these cosplayers here with like a big sign? What is that? So we just didn't want to cause too much attention. But yeah, it did get some attention online, and people were writing articles like, this is how they kind of manipulated things, okay? Because only I think maybe 2 or 3 websites actually contacted me to interview me about it, which I appreciated. But other people just were just going along making up stuff. I'm like, I'm here. Like, you can contact me. Like, why are you just making stuff up and trying to make it fit your little narrative to like make us look bad? And then one article, out of all the pictures I have online that you could have gotten, you know, I have lots of pictures you can choose from, you know, in my videos, screenshots. They decided to use a screenshot where I look mad for the article. I'm like, oh, they're trying to manipulate the narrative, like, oh, make it seem like I'm this angry person. I'm just like, really? Out of all the pictures where I'm like smiling and happy and being goofy, like, you decided to get one screenshot where I look mad, so it makes me look bad. So that's just why, you know, you shouldn't believe like everything you read, or if you read something, try to like look at other sources too, and like kind of get a better picture, not just believe one source. So yeah, it was kind of annoying. We're just trying to take a picture. We're not even gonna like, but we just wanted to show some, just kind of show our support in person in front of Warner Brothers. Be like, hope you see us. But apparently they did.
And they did. I don't know. I mean, we don't know everything all behind the scenes, but I've got to assume that this has been going on in the background for a while, long before it was announced. There's usually no smoke without fire, and I know that it has been. I think even the hashtag itself, didn't it kind of resurrect itself and become trending again even before the announcement was released?
Yeah,
so
on the 2-year anniversary, and then that's when it was like trending worldwide. It was like, and then also that's when all the actors tweeted the hashtag too. So that's, yeah.
So, I mean, I was reading the article. There was even like a plane, I think, was scheduled to fly over Comic-Con at one point with the hashtag trailer behind it. There was Times Square screens and everything like that. So this was a big thing. And I think with a big sort of like tentpole movie that this was, this was essentially DC's answer to the Avengers. They were running parallel to them. They were doing their solo movies. Well, kind of. They didn't really do the setup, did they? I mean, they did Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. You had Suicide Squad, which we'll get into later as well when we talk about the ramifications of the release the Snyder Cut, because now I know there's a hashtag trending of release the Ayer cut. Yeah, so maybe this is going to be like a whole new thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, we did kind of have an alternate cut. It was more like an ultimate cut or something, wasn't it, of Batman v Superman when that came out, which I think was close to about 3 hours. Kind of not the same situation as this, though, where a film is completely ripped apart, deconstructed, put back together again, especially with a different director, with Joss Whedon. And when you watch Justice League, and I don't know if we said this in our reviews, you could kind of tell maybe where Joss Whedon's input came in. You could kind of pinpoint sort of comic relief scenes that were added in maybe to create a lighter tone. And I do blame Warner Brothers for that. I don't necessarily blame Joss Whedon. I blame Warner Brothers because as a company, they are very reactionary. And I know when the negative criticism came out for Batman v Superman of its overly dark tone and that there wasn't really much humor in there and it was kind of very brooding and dark, they clearly looked at that. And I think they messed around with Suicide Squad was the first one to get that treatment, where that was made as a very different movie. When you see the first trailers for that film compared to trailer 2 and 3, where it was given much more sort of colorful neon Guardians of the Galaxy kind of feel to it, especially with the music they threw into that movie as well. And then unfortunately the same kind of happened with Justice League, where you could tell they were trying to make it a bit more peppy and lighthearted and everything like that. But it's an interesting thing where you see the original trailers and you do see footage, and they talked about Black Suit Superman, and there are scenes in the trailer, even whole color grading that changes when you get to the final movie. Probably the most infamous change for me is the horrible red filter that's just sort of slapped on the screen for the entire ending. But as far as I know, this is going to be like a completely from the ground up type situation. The main headline on the article, I don't know if this is a quote from Zack Snyder himself, says it will be an entirely new thing.
Yeah, I think that's what Zack said. Yeah, it was a Zack quote.
So when this was officially announced, what was going through your head? What happened? Talk me through that moment where you read online, 2021, this is happening, coming to HBO. Is it HBO Max? Is that what it's called?
HBO Max, yeah.
HBO Max, yeah.
Well, he officially announced it during the Man of Steel watch party, but I wasn't able to see that live because I was working. So I had just gone off work, and then I just got a message from a friend of mine, and he's like, "It's happening." I'm like, "What?" But I'm like, I need to make sure. I don't want to get excited because people always say it's happening. It's like a rumor. It's not official. So I'm like, I have to make sure it's actually true. So I looked it up and I saw it was Hollywood Reporter, and then that Zack actually said it himself. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And I was like, yeah, but I it took me a while to absorb. I was like, is this really a dream? Is this happening? I couldn't believe it, but now I feel like it's starting to sink in. But I was so happy. I just wanted to hug Zack. I'm like, Zack, where are you? I just want to give you a hug. We love you, Zack. We love you. So I was just really happy for him because, for me, that was the main reason. I just felt so bad for him. And also, I just didn't really understand why they couldn't just waited. Warner Brothers, I would have preferred them to just give Zack time to maybe come back to the movie. But I don't know, maybe at that time Zack wasn't planning on ever coming back, maybe, but I feel like they were trying to just rush Justice League. So oh, that's why it came out like that. I'm the kind of person that I would rather wait for a better movie than rush out a mediocre one. So
this is implying though that Warner Brothers actually cares about artistic intention. They got to get that dollar. They're a business at the end of the day. Warner Brothers, again, another company. I always tend to bring this up as an example. It's almost like a habit with me, but the Hobbit films were done by Warner Brothers. There are a lot of other studios, though. New Line, which I believe were bought out by Warner Brothers and MGM. And they were originally going to have Guillermo del Toro and he was on the project for ages in pre-production. He left, and then they got Peter Jackson in, but they didn't give him extra time to plan. They said, no, those are the deadlines, those are release dates, get it done. So they do strike me as a studio that wants their return as quickly as possible. And also the fact with like the Marvel films as well, I've got to assume they wanted to strike while the iron's hot. You know, Marvel have got all their solo films going on. They were 2017, so they were ramping up to Infinity War at that point, I guess, and sort of Endgame as well. So I think maybe they were trying to get it done as quickly as possible.
This is what I would have told the Warner Brothers. Okay, do you not remember when the Ultimate Edition of BVS came out and people liked it way more? Like, doesn't that, like, did they forget about that? Because I saw so many people that, I like the original BVS, but I like the Ultimate Edition so much more. And I felt like didn't you learn from that? That's why you should probably let the director kind of, don't hinder them so much.
I will say the runtime for this. So the Zack Snyder cut is touted at potentially 4 hours. I've seen reports of 4.5 hours. They're debating at the moment whether to release it as a full 4 hour plus movie on HBO Max, or whether to split it up into sort of smaller episodic chunks, essentially. I will say 4 hours is a disgusting runtime for any movie. I think
if it's good, I will sit through it.
I will give it a check. If the film needs to be 4 hours, that's fine. Like, I know that Zack Snyder did a 4 hour cut of Watchmen, the ultimate cut, I believe it was, which was the director's cut mashed with is it called Tales from the Black Freighter, I think, which was the animated film, and it was like the most comic book accurate version of that film. It was 4 hours. But do you need for like the Justice League fighting Darkseid or Steppenwolf and punching each other? Like, do you need 4 hours for that? I don't know. I will have to wait and see when it comes out. Yes. But we had a comment for Brinsley in the comments who says it's a smart business move. They want to promote their new streaming service, HBO Max. So I do think there is probably some politics involved in there, and that it is. I've put it in the comments as well. It's mutually beneficial for both Zack Snyder in that he gets his vision out there of what he wants the film, what he wanted the film to be, what his intentions were, and also HBO Max get to like a big, tentpole streaming property item on their streaming service that people are going to subscribe to out of their curiosity to check out, Zack Snyder's cut of the movie.
So I will say, just to all the fans, subscribe once it's time because we have to. I feel like, they did this, they finally are going to release it. So don't try to like pirate it. Don't try to like get it for free. Like, come on, it's really awesome that they're doing this. So I feel like the least we can do is at least subscribe to HBO Max. I'm not saying to do it right now, but eventually, like, because, then they'll realize like, okay, it was a, good idea. And hopefully they'll kind of maybe, I'm not saying listen to us, because I don't think we should like dictate everything that they do, but they'll take us maybe a little bit more seriously. They're like, okay, if we give them what they want, they like will give us what we want, in a way. So like, come on, let's support them for supporting us and Zach. So
definitely. And we also have another comment as well. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Psycho Bevo. I'm guessing it's Bevo. Joss Whedon has consistently liked tweets insulting Justice League and the DCEU and Henry Cavill's Superman. That's why it's hard to sympathize with Whedon. I actually haven't seen any of these tweets, so I can't really comment on whether that's true or not. But I know that directors, Josh Trank is probably the one who comes to mind. That was when Fantastic came out, which was an awful, terrible film. And again, his vision was greatly changed as well by the studio. He was liking tweets and sharing hate speech on the movie as well. So this is the thing. And this whole thing, and we'll talk about sort of the importance of this in terms of art, and if we think this is a good idea, or if we think that more directors should sort of jump on this bandwagon now and try and push to get a film made. This kind of reminds me of Superman 2, which came out in 1980. Originally, Richard Donner filmed Superman 1 and 2 back to back. I'm not exactly sure the reasons why he was kicked off the project. I don't know if he was going over budget or if production time was too long, but Richard Donner was kicked off the project for Superman 2 and was replaced by Richard Lester, who is credited as the sole director. And to be credited as the sole director, you have to have filmed a certain percentage, like a certain quota of that film, substantial to get the other name off the credits, essentially. So there are 2 cuts available of Superman 2. There was the Richard Lester cut, which was the theatrical version. And then I think in 2006, the Richard Donner cut was released, which isn't technically fundamentally his cut. There was a lot of extra scenes that he filmed, put back in there, but it wasn't necessarily the whole vision as to what it would be. So in terms of like DC projects, that's the one that comes to mind. But I think it's just especially in today's day as well, with the vocal media and everything, with the social media and everything like that, wanting this thing out there.
Yeah.
The big question for me, though, is do you think this should just be like a one-off with the Zack Snyder cut? Do you think they should do like hashtag release the Ayer cut and God knows however many other directors out there whose visions get changed? Or do you think that could be quite problematic for movies overall?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want to say we should do it for every movie, but I think for this one, I felt really passionate about it because I could just from everything I've heard and then just from what I saw in the movie, I could tell like it was substantially different than what Zach wanted. So I feel like if it was just a couple scenes cut, okay, I'm not going to do this whole thing for just a few scenes. Probably like I'd be like, oh man, I wish could have seen them, whatever. But from what I understood, it was just a lot different, and you can just tell too, just from what just from everything I had read and people that had worked on it, whole characters completely cut out. And then you could tell what was reshot. Like, first of all, I could tell from, every Henry, like every time his mouth was messed up, you knew, okay, that was a Whedon scene. And then when Ben, when he worked with Joss Whedon, his face was a little fuller. So that's when I could tell, like, okay, that was a reshot scene or a Whedon scene because his face is not as So I could tell that it was changed a lot. And I just felt like, I guess the best way I could say is like, they did him dirty. They did Zach dirty. So that's why I was like, I felt it was, pun intended, I guess, it was an injustice against Zach. That's why I was very passionate because I felt it was just, So I don't know if I wouldn't say like, we should do this for every movie or anything like that. I just, maybe if something else happens where it's just maybe I don't know, I think on a case by case basis, it depends. I don't want to say, if maybe if you find out later that the director wasn't happy or something, or maybe they had a better cut. Because sometimes I feel like studios do mess with movies a little bit too much. I feel like they should trust their directors because, okay, the CEOs, people, the execs, whatever, you are more on the business side. So stick with that. Let the creative people be creative, okay? That's why you hire them, right? So that's kind of what I think. I don't, when you mess too much with people, like the business people or the, people that like deal with the money, when you mess too much with the creative side, I feel like you ruin it because you're not letting that person be creative, like doing what they're good at, what you hire them to do. You mess with their vision. It's like too many cooks in the kitchen type of thing. So, I mean, that's kind of why I like when I work on my own stuff, I really don't let any other people I don't really want their input because I'm like, you're just going to mess with it. Like, I kind of already know what I want, and I trust myself. So I really don't need to ask other people what they think. So I think that's, as a creative person, I think that's kind of a thing that bothers me is just when people that maybe don't know what they're doing or what, like, just kind of get involved in things that they probably shouldn't get involved with, and then they just make it worse. So
I think, unfortunately, though, money makes the world go round. And whilst I agree with you, that would be nice if we lived in an ideal world. With the studios, like, looking at how much money they're investing into this thing, they want a say in what gets done. But I know that,
But like, also, I understand that money does make the world go round, but it's like, how does the studio know that what they want is what's going to work? Obviously, BVS theatrical version was not as liked as the director's cut, so obviously the studio didn't know because they cut out a bunch of good stuff. That's like, when I watched the Ultimate Edition, I was so mad for Zach. I was like, why did they cut this out? Why did they cut this out? Why did they cut this out? I know it wasn't Zach. I know it wasn't Zach who cut this out. And I was so mad because I felt like, yeah, maybe the movie's a little bit longer, but it was better. And it probably would have made more money if it would have been a better movie in the first place. So that's why, like, don't, like, just trust trust the people that you hire to do their job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't hire them if you're not going to trust them and micromanage. And
I think it can be very focus groupy. They can look at, you just know they're all sitting around a boardroom and go, well, this studio did this and it worked. And from our marketing, we can tell that audiences gravitate towards this thing. So we need to push this thing more in the movie, or everything like that. And yeah. And when
they should have looked at YouTube when all the YouTubers were saying, hey, I like BVS Ultimate Edition better. They should have.
I will say,
because like,
we've talked about this before, and some DC fans like do get very angry with me sometimes when I voice my opinion, but opinions are important. It's how we have discussion. It's how we have discourse, and that's all good. It's all good. I know that you're definitely a bigger fan of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman than I am. I will concede the point that the ultimate cut of Batman v Superman fundamentally is a better movie. I still don't like Batman v Superman. I have a lot of problems with it myself, but I will concede that it plays better and doesn't feel as rushed or fragmented or as jumbled as the theatrical edition did. And that's kind of going back to the studios really quickly, and then I'll bring up some of the comments that we've had. I think that you need a mix of the two. It's nice sometimes to have a director just 100% unequivocally make the product they want to make, vision beginning to end. But I think sometimes they can kind of get away with themselves. And I think sometimes you need the studio just to nudge them a little bit, not to meddle too much. I think it needs to be like a perfect dance, a perfect harmony, yin and yang between the two. And I think the most successful films do have input from the studio as well as the director. An example, maybe, again, a very divisive film like Man of Steel was, like Batman v Superman was, The Last Jedi, Star Wars with, oh God, what was the name of the director? Rian Johnson. Arguably divided the fan base. A lot of people love that movie. A lot of people hate that movie and chalk that up as sort of like the downfall of the sequel trilogy. That was 100% his movie. There was no, outside involvement in that. He wrote the script beginning to end. He made that movie how he wanted it. So there is an argument to be had there that that's great in that Disney had the trust in him and just let him get on with it. But then with the backlash that they've had and the very negative criticism, maybe they could have stepped in and said, actually, make sure this is in the story, make sure it goes this way. So I don't know. I think there is an argument to be had there. Psycho Bebo in the comments says that he actually loved Josh Trank's Fan Four Stick. As I said, I didn't think it was a great movie. It was perhaps an interesting idea, but I don't know if it was very much a darker tone for it. And I don't want to make this a review of that movie. I think we already have one on the channel, but it was a very darker, grittier take on it. And I think some superheroes work with that. And I don't think the Fantastic Four particularly are a group that need that kind of treatment. So Justice League, I actually have a couple of pictures, and I'm sure there are more. If you go to the trailers, you can sort of pinpoint what made it into the film and what didn't make it into the movie. I didn't have time to do that, so I pulled what I could. The biggest thing for this is that this isn't going to be cheap. This is apparently going to be a 20 mil plus endeavor. I've seen reports that it's going to be upwards of 30 mil being put into this to get the special effects finished, new ones added, corrected, altered, changed. And I think they said they're getting the gang back together. I don't know whether that means they're getting Junkie XL back to do the music.
I hope so. Well, I think he had already completed the score.
Okay.
That's why, like, you actually hear some of it in, I think, the first or the Justice League trailer that was released in Comic-Con. And that's one of the things that made me sad about, because I really like the music in that trailer. And I'm like, I don't hear it in the movie because it was, Junkie's stuff. And, they got rid of him. So as far as I knew, I thought he had already completed it. So I don't think I mean, he might have to do some other work, but
I actually really liked his Batman theme that he did for BVS. And I know that was kind of Hans Zimmer had a lot of input, but for the Batman stuff specifically, because he'd already scored it for Christopher Nolan's trilogy, and that must be really weird as a creator to say now create something different for that same character. So I can understand why he reached out to one of his proteges, which was Junkie XL. Who does have quite a similar style to Zimmer, and I think it worked. I'd very much like to hear that continuity between the scores going into Justice League. Danny Elfman was weird. I love Danny Elfman as a composer. I think he's phenomenal. He's easily one of my favorites.
Yeah, I loved his Edward Scissorhands stuff, Batman, the earlier Batman stuff. But this, I was like, But for this one, I would describe it as lackluster. That's probably the best way I could describe it. I was like,
it was lackluster and it was weird. The fact that now Batman 89 is my favorite Batman. I know that's completely nostalgia talking, but it's my favorite Batman film. The feel of it, the music, and everything. Using his own Batman 89 score for Batman in Justice League was a mistake. It's weird. You couldn't even really hear it all that much in the movie anyway, because so many explosions were happening and the Batmobile doing its thing. The fact that they used John Williams' Superman theme, a theme that is completely synonymous with Superman for me. However, I will acknowledge it doesn't work for the take of Superman that they created in Man of Steel. It was a very dark and more brooding. So having this light, victorious fanfare doesn't really work for the Superman they've gone for in this universe. So I think the new score will definitely give it a different feel. I'm looking forward to seeing Cyborg's scenes of him as an American footballer, because as it stands in the movie, he was kind of a nothing character. He was just kind of there. But
I think it was more than nothing, but he definitely got like there's a lot of his story that we didn't get to see. And Iris too. Iris was completely cut out, even though she was in the movie. So I'm looking forward to seeing Iris.
But they're even talking about getting some of the actors back in, whether they're going to do some like extra reshoots or anything like that, or whether it's just going to be ADR or voiceover. I don't know how that's going to go with Ezra Miller, considering things that have happened with him, with certain fans choke slamming people to the ground. I don't know. But some of the CGI that I've seen, because I don't know if they're completely changing the villain, if they're still going with Steppenwolf, if they're going to have Darkseid feature as a cameo, or if Darkseid's going to be the new villain in there. But this is one of the biggest shots I've seen. I've put that on the screen there. So on the right is Steppenwolf as it was in the 2017 movie, and I believe the one on the left may have been a shot from Batman v Superman, maybe on the hologram where it was revealed. I'm not sure, but I think that was the original design for Steppenwolf.
Oh wow!
There's a full body shot between the two there, so you guys can see a change there.
I have not seen this. Okay.
So they're going with a kind of thing that Steppenwolf looks like an alien, maybe, which I know inherently he is, but I think the one on the left definitely has more of a human quality to him, with like wearing the clothes and the armor and the weapon and everything like that, and the kind of regular normal hands. Now this is Steppenwolf from the comic books, and I know that designs haven't got to be beholden to the comic books, but that's what he looks like in the comics. So he kind of looks like a dude with a sweet beard and red eyes. And I mean, if you're gonna like do one out the two, I think that probably this one on the left looks the closest to it, I guess. But again, I'll have to wait and see, what they do with the movie. But the ultimately the biggest thing for me now is that what does this mean for the DCEU? Because surely as moviegoers, I think the movie did it make like 600 mil or something, Justice League? Yeah, 657 mil. Probably not the turnover they wanted from it. They were probably hoping to get, to clear. Yeah, especially, I mean, this is your team-up movie, right? This is your Avengers, and it kind of makes the same as just a solo movie. What does this mean for it? Because if this comes out and this is well received, I don't think... Clearly, not as many people are going to be able to watch this. I don't think we have HBO Max in this country yet, so I'm not sure how we're going to get a hold of this thing. And obviously, even people that do have the channel, probably not everyone does because it's a paid subscription thing. What does this mean? Because if fans suddenly love this movie, are they going to get the DCEU back on course? Because at the moment, they've kind of been focusing on solo movies. and seems like they've been trying to distance themselves. There are some references in there. I know there was a scene in Aquaman where they referenced Steppenwolf, I believe, but it was just like one scene. The rest of that movie, you can sort of have it as a standalone movie. The same with Shazam, where you have like a Superman cameo in there at the end, but obviously it's not Cavill, because at that point he said he was done with being Superman. Even Birds of Prey, you know.
No, he had not officially said he was done.
I thought he did. I thought he said he was done, and then
no, he said the cape is still in the closet. People always ask him, and he's like he's never said no. Like he's like, I'm still like, he kind of words it in certain ways, but basically saying like, I'm not done being Superman.
I think it was if you get your shit together, I will consider coming back full time kind of thing. But right now I'm going on hiatus. But even Birds of Prey as well, with Jared Leto's Joker. Let's get a body double for him and let's get him out the movie within the first opening montage, you know. So it does seem like they are kind of trying to break away from that. But if this is a success, what do they do? Because I think Justice League was originally going to be a two-parter, film back to back. Do they get back on track with that? But what does this mean for Matt Reeves' Batman trilogy as well, you know, with Robert Pattinson, which is also coming out the same year that this is being released? Do you think that's going to be weird with Ben Affleck's Batman being back in the limelight, but also we're trying to transition and create this new one for this new trilogy?
I don't think it'll be weird. Like, honestly, I feel like I would enjoy seeing both. I feel like DC, Warner Brothers should just embrace this and be like, hey, we might make a lot of money this year. Just kind of like Disney had their like year where they were releasing all these Marvel films, all these like Disney remakes in the same year, when there was like Aladdin, Dumbo, which one was the other one? Lion King on the same year. I'm like, you guys are making bank. So yeah, Warner Bros. Not releasing that many movies, but just hopefully, like, that's what I'm saying to all the fans. Let's go give them our money, so that way, you know, that's money talks. That's how they get the feedback that, oh, you guys like this because we made money, so let's actually pay, you know, to go and support these movies. And hopefully, I'm not gonna get my hopes up that, like, the only thing I would like to see, if maybe they don't continue with, I mean, because I think we're already getting, I don't know, no, maybe not an Aquaman sequel, because are they doing Aquaman too?
I think it made a lot of money. I think that it's sort of on the back burner.
I know the Trench, was it like?
Yeah. Oh, they were going to do a spin-off, weren't they? Like a horror movie spin-off.
I mean, that idea, I don't know why they decided to go with that. I'm like,
yeah, it's
why make a movie about that?
I know. I
wasn't watching. I thought Aquaman was cool, but I wasn't watching that scene. Be like, I want to see a whole movie about this. Like, no.
But also, like, the whole, I don't want to like talk about it too much because we're still waiting on stuff. But the whole Amber Heard thing.
Yeah. So
which is clearly going to come back to bite her in the ass, and like, then what does that mean for her character? Because clearly they can't. If that comes out that happened, they can't cast her. They can't continue with her in Aquaman.
I'm hoping that, like, they won't need her for the Justice League. Like, they can just use whatever they already have of her. That's what I'm hoping, because I don't want her to come back. So
can we just like Vicky Vale her out of the movie in like the sequel? Like, oh yeah, she died off screen. Or
I feel like, or just use whatever you already have and that's it. Don't but the only thing that I would really hope for, because I also think it's kind of an injustice. I don't like injustice, is I feel like Henry does deserve a sequel, a Man of Steel 2. I feel like, hopefully, guys, let's give WB our money. So then once they see that, hopefully that means Henry will get Man of Steel 2. And maybe that could have been part of the deal of him maybe agreeing to Justice League, because he was there at the announcement. So obviously, and his manager also tweeted about it. So obviously, like, and she knew for months, you know, that this was going to happen. So hopefully that means that they've talked to Warner Brothers. There was a deal, like, and if they see that they make money from Justice League, hopefully that means like, oh, okay, maybe we can give Henry his Man of Steel too. I feel like if they end like the Snyderverse with like this, you know, his Justice League and Man of Steel 2, I feel like I'll be happy, because I know, like, I don't think they're gonna I feel like they're still gonna release obviously Matt Reeves' Batman anyway. So if they're gonna, you know, kind of start a whole new thing, I feel like I would be happy if it was just like, okay, we at least got Man of Steel 2, we got Zack Snyder's Justice League, like justice has been done. I keep saying justice, but that's just the best word, sorry. And I'll be happy because I feel like they deserve it. I feel like Zack deserves to have this completed, and Henry definitely deserves a sequel. So
yeah, my faults with, I mean, I probably wouldn't have gone Jason Momoa for Aquaman. That's me personally, but my faults don't lie with the casting for these movies. Like when you see Henry Cavill in person, you're like, that is Superman.
yeah.
And you know, I was one of the people. A lot of people were negative on Ben Affleck's Batman, especially when he was originally cast. And I'm always like, even Robert Pattinson, I'm always like, let me see a trailer, let me see this guy in the Batman suit, let me see him doing his thing, and then I will cast my judgment after that. But you know, I always trust in the creators and the casting and everything like that. My fault is not with the casting at all. I think they had some tremendous talent working on this thing. My problem for me is some of the characterizations they did with the characters. I don't like that they went with a more somber Superman, because I fundamentally, I know that you can write a comic, and I know there probably are comics that are more like that. But to me, Superman should be the symbol of hope and be more charismatic and colorful, I guess, and then Batman is your opposite to him, you know, like still a good guy, but very, and you can go as dark as you want with Batman. It's and the fact that like Batman killing people left, right, and center, I just, there were fundamental things that I didn't agree with the characters that kind of hurt my enjoyment with it. But you know, Zack Snyder has said that this 4-hour cut, and I would certainly hope so with a runtime like that. He said that there's going to be lots of character development in this one.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, and I could tell too that, you know, the, I guess, more brighter Superman, he was going to emerge in Zack's version, because especially with that scene at the end when when Henry, like, you know, the whole, do you remember that? And you can
is this in BVS or? No,
that was in Justice League. At the end, it's like he has the glasses, he like opens his coat, and then he flies away. That was a Zack scene. And that was like one of the, you know, it's like Superman being like the brighter, you know, Superman that, like, you know, we knew and loved growing up. So that was a Zack thing. So he was kind of trying to like get, I guess, Superman.
Do you think that was influenced though from some of the feedback of people about it, maybe? Because he clearly didn't start off like that, and it seemed to be quite consistent in BVS. So I'm wondering if that was, because, you know, like with Man of Steel, right, with the whole collateral damage thing, where you had like your big CGI punch 'em up at the end and buildings were falling down, and they didn't really deal with the ramifications. You didn't really see Superman saving anyone during that whole conflict. That seemed to me like that was the movie they made. Then they looked at the criticism from that and kind of worked that into the premise at the beginning of Batman v Superman, which is actually my favorite scene in that movie, is the opening of how it's all from Bruce Wayne's perspective and the civilians' perspective of this, you know, horrible cataclysm happening. Unfortunately, after that, if they'd have gone with Batman believes that Superman's killed thousands during this attack on Metropolis, and Batman himself doesn't kill people and wants to bring him to justice, that would have been a great take. And that's the take that I thought in that opening scene they were going with. But then Batman starts killing people and is like really brutal, and he's also killing people. I never quite understood that. But I never really got the impression that, and especially even with this movie coming out now, Black Suit Superman, I've got to assume for at least the first half of this movie, kind of how Justice League, the 2017 version was, you're going to have this very menacing, evil, dark Superman again for the majority of this runtime.
Well, I mean, he's not even going to be in most of the first half, I believe, because he's dead. So, and then when he comes back, he does have the fight, which was a Zack thing. You can tell because Henry's face looks beautiful. So that was the Zack scene, which I love that fight. That fight with Henry and the rest of the league, that was awesome. But yeah, like when he first comes back, obviously he's like angry or whatever. But like towards the end, like I said, he does become like, he has, I mean, character development, okay. And also it could be, you know, it could be partly, yeah, because maybe he did get the feedback, but at least he, you know, Zack's not like, he's open to the, you know, the feedbacks. So I think that's a good thing about him, is that, you know, he's passionate and he does kind of like have his own vision, but he's also open to, you know, listening to what people say. So yeah, you don't remember that at the end of Justice League? Because I think you only saw it once, huh?
That movie was so forgettable for me. It was not a good viewing experience for me. I did not enjoy that movie. I just tuned hard out of that movie as it was happening.
I remember. I feel like you would have liked that. You would have liked seeing that because it was
too little, too late for me. I was like, this is, you know. And then when he's like, he punches Steppenwolf, and it's like, da da da. And I was like, no, don't even try and do this now. It's too late. You're too late. You're too far into this thing. Don't even try. So for me, like, sort of, I guess we can go in closing, or if you have anything else to bring up, we can do. For me, where I stand on this, it's going to be as you know, like, I do like fan edits in my free time, and I love sort of looking at different interpretations of the same source material and different ways you can cut it together. And this is quite interesting in that they are adding so much into the movie and changing it almost completely from the ground up. So as an experiment, I'm excited to see it and how it goes over, and at least sort of close out Zack Snyder's trilogy, if you will, of the DCEU and see what the original intention was. But in terms of the film, like, I'm more intrigued by it, but I'm kind of apathetic about it too. But that's just me because I was never a big fan of the other two. But I know, for example, you who are a big fan of the DCEU and everything, and I don't hate every DCEU movie. I love Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman 1984 looks fantastic. Joker technically doesn't fit into it, does it? I can't count that one. Shazam, I loved Shazam. Shazam was amazing. That was one of my favorite movies from that year. So DC fans, I do like DC movies, just to make that fundamentally clear. So I'm kind of apathetic because I think that once this comes out, that they should move forward. They should look at this, see what worked, see what didn't, and move forward with it. We've got Matt Reeves's new Batman trilogy. Whether they are going to do a sequel to Joker, we don't know yet. I know that's been rumored. Whether they choose to continue Shazam and maybe focus on these more self-contained films. We've got Wonder Woman, you know, continue with that maybe. Obviously, they're going to still kind of nebulously tie into the DCEU because that character will, you know, have progressed from BVS, Justice League, her own movie, a sequel to her own movie, and then whatever they choose to do. But I don't know. I think that with the audience and the reception they had from Justice League, I don't know if they could bounce back if they choose to backpedal. And I think it would be more. I think it would be more troublesome if they did decide to backpedal. You know, it seemed like after Justice League, everything kind of ebbed and dipped, and then they were in a state of what do we do now? They brought out Aquaman, Shazam, Wonder Woman 2. They had Joker, which was a separate thing, Birds of Prey. But if they choose to sort of go back to what was, I don't know if they can do that. It's going to be interesting to see how Warner Brothers play this.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I feel like I'm not really expecting them to like go back and have. I don't even know if Zach would want to like keep this going forever. It's like just he was already working on this to begin with, so I feel like it's only right to like let him finish. And
he probably wants to work on something different because how many years of his life is dedicated to the DCEU? And I know that he's passionate about comic books and he's made a lot of other graphic novel and comic book adaptations.
And he's also having Army of the Dead coming out on Netflix. So 2 Zack Snyder movies in 2021. Watch both of them. Support him.
And his first movie was a zombie film, wasn't it? It was the Dawn of the Dead remake in the early 2000s, I think. So it'd be nice to see him go back to his roots. And maybe that's what he wants to do. But let us know in the... do you have anything to say? Anything more to say on it? We could probably talk longer on this thing. There's a lot to say about it. But I think that it's going to be very interesting to see the reception on this thing and then what Warner Brothers choose to do afterwards following that reception.
Yeah, money talks. That's why I feel like, and also like you said, they are kind of reactionary. So I feel like they're the type that's probably they're gonna wait, you know, until it comes out and be like, okay, let's see. And if it does well, they might call up Zach or someone else and be like, okay, let's keep this going. If it doesn't do as well, then they'll be like, well, at least we have, you know, Matt Reeves, Batman. Let's just kind of, that could be just like the end of like Zach's the Snyderverse. I don't know.
I am wondering what that's going to do for people's perceptions of Robert Pattinson, though. If you still have Ben Affleck's Batman kind of there, the shadow of it, And to be honest, I've seen more people negative at Robert Pattinson's Batman. Like, no one seems to be giving him a shot, and it's really unfair because everyone keeps saying, "Oh, the guy from Twilight." We got the guy from Twilight as Batman, and it's like he's an actor.
Yeah,
you know, you can't typecast him just to that. People said the same for Michael Keaton. He's a comedic actor; it won't work. People said the same for Heath Ledger.
Yeah,
You know,
so annoying.
That guy who does those rom-coms,
Gal
like, he can't play the
Gadot,
Joker.
everyone. Yeah, that's why I don't get on those hate trains. Like when they announce the casting, I'm like, I'm just gonna wait till the movie comes out because Anne Hathaway too. It's like it's so dumb to judge when you haven't even seen anything. Like just wait, and then we all like those actors. Even some people are like, I don't know, Joaquin Phoenix as Joker, like, and he was amazing. Mm-hmm. So people can transform like actors. That's what they do.
People wait. That's what they're paid to do. They're paid to act and play different people. And Robert Pattinson, like his career, like if The Lighthouse, the psychological thriller he did, the black and white film with Willem Dafoe, he was fantastic in. He's done many other projects, and he really has bounced back for it. He's in Christopher Nolan's upcoming movie Tenet, and he looks amazing in that. So let's give him a chance. Let's see him in the bat suit officially. Mm-hmm. Talking, acting, all that stuff, and then if we don't like him, then we can pass that judgment. But I don't know. See, the thing is with Joker as well. We'll round off in a second because we're almost coming up to an hour. But Jared Leto's Joker was only in that movie for maybe 10 to 15 minutes of Suicide Squad, the current cut that we had. We know there's a lot more there, and a lot of people didn't like him. But because he was a very small element in that movie, and that he wasn't in Birds of Prey and everything like that, I do think that there was sufficient time for audiences to adjust to Joaquin Phoenix's new Joker. But, you know, Ben Affleck's Batman's been going for quite a few years now, and if they bring him back and then you're trying to sort of create space and go into this new one.
I feel like they should just give it enough time, maybe. I mean, I'm not going to have a problem differentiating it. I know, like, when I go see, you know, Matt Reeves, it's going to be a different universe, but I'm not going to be confused. But I feel like maybe if they release him, like, give him, I don't know, maybe 6 months or more, space him out, I feel like that's enough time to...
I think you do need time for these kind of things. I know that the Incredible Hulk movies were like 2003 and 2008, if I remember. So you had like a 5-year gap. Spider-Man 3 to Amazing Spider-Man 1 felt very soon to me.
Yeah,
I think that was maybe about 4 years. The biggest gap that I can remember was Batman and Robin, which was 1997. And then you had Batman Begins, completely different take. And that came out in 2005. So you did have a, you know, like a good chunk of time with that. But we'll have to see. I think that people are smart enough to know that, okay, this Batman's in this one universe and this Batman's in another one. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it and just to see how it goes over. And it's going to be a lot of new stuff added. It's almost like an extra movie's worth of stuff. If it's 4 hours and the original was... I think the original clocked in under 2 hours. So it's like 2 and a bit hours added onto it. Which is
how would you prefer? Would you prefer it to be like, if you're gonna watch it at home on like streaming, would you prefer it to be 4 hours, or like the 6 chapters, like kind of maybe released once a week or something like that? What would you prefer?
Oh, if it was 6 hours, definitely an episodic thing. But if it's going to be 4 hours or whatever, I could do a 4-hour sit with breaks. I could do a 4-hour sit.
Don't drink anything, because then I wouldn't want to take a break. I'd be like, no.
It's like with when The Irishman came out, Scorsese's movie on Netflix, and everyone said this is really long. This is on for like 3 hours, 28 minutes. And it's when I was sat in front of Netflix, I had the screen on, and it was all ready to go, and I just kind of went play, and it's like, right, I am going to be here for 3 hours 28 minutes. It'll be the same thing when I have a 4-hour cut of Justice League. Whether or not it needs to be that length, it does seem quite extensive for me, for a superhero movie to be that length. But if I watch it and I'm like, yep, that absolutely needs to be there. If it does play like a TV show as well, because TV shows have the benefit of having extra time to develop characters. You have more time to play with. You're not sort of constrained by 2 hours. We'll have to see. If it's good pacing, a 4-hour film can just fly by. Look at Lord of the Rings. I know some people might argue that that is a very slow movie. I think it moves at a great pace.
Well, somebody said 6 hours. No, it's because they said in the Hollywood Reporter article that I read, they said it could either be a 4-hour movie or 6 chapters. So I don't think they would each be an hour. So basically like 4 hours probably split into 6, so little like an hour and a half or something like that. So it wouldn't be, I think it would still total 4 hours. They just don't know if they want to release it as like a movie or, chapters. So.
I think I think I heard that Tarantino did something similar with Hateful Eight. I know that there's a 3-hour, I think a 4-hour cut or something that exists of Hateful Eight maybe, or a 3-hour cut, I'm not sure. And that's split up into episodes and chapters on, I think it's on Netflix. I think it might be on the US Netflix. I don't think we have it on our one for the movie.
Oh, okay. Oh, I will say I just had this thought that
go on.
Because I feel like it's something that maybe, I mean, studios have kind of been doing anyway because they want to make money. So I feel like it might be something that studios might be more open to doing in the future, whereas like just release more director's cuts. If they're like, if fans want them, we'll release our theatrical version, make money off of that, then we'll release it again as a director's cut. We'll make more money. So I feel like it could affect maybe the industry in that way, where like studios might just be more open to, making more extra money by releasing these cuts, because they do that all the time with like re-releasing a movie like 10 years later, special edition, and they're always looking for a way to make an extra buck. So like, why not, like, if they see that fans want it, that way they can kind of have it both ways. They can release the cut the studio wants, make money from that, and then just fine, we'll just make some extra money and release a director's cut if the director wants to. I feel like they might just be more open to that idea, and I feel like maybe it'll happen more often now. So I feel like it might help the Ayer cut to be released as well.
I would like to see the Ayer cut actually. I would very much like to see that.
That's why I couldn't form an opinion on Jared Leto's Joker, because I felt like I didn't see enough.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was like. I mean, I didn't like the 15 minutes that I saw, but again, like I didn't even see him interact properly with Batman. And if that would have been to see that dynamic of that Joker with Ben Affleck's Batman. That's what I really wanted to see the most. And I know that when we went to that DC exhibition in London when it was open a few years ago, we saw some concept art. Now, whether it was actually shot or whether that was just stayed as concept art and never made it past that, we did see a scene where Batman was like stood on top of Joker's car with the Joker in there, and it was like they would have had an actual conversation there, and I wanted to see that.
That's why I was like, why did they cut this out? That's why I'm like, I know it wasn't Ayer's fault. So
yeah.
Who's doing this? Who's making these decisions? Like, why would you think that we wouldn't want to see that? Like the two most like iconic like characters or duos or rivals, not duos, but like a rival. Like, you don't think we want to see that? Like.
I think with Suicide Squad though, that's more problematic, because with Justice League you could argue that was kind of the end. Like Wonder Woman's carrying on and it looks like she's staying pretty consistent. Aquaman, Aquaman's a thing. Is he going to be that kind of broy kind of character that he was in Aquaman? Because you kind of have to make him that way now, because that's what it leads into. But with Harley Quinn, would she have been that ditzy and cutesy and crazy as she was in the original version of Suicide Squad? Because now we have Birds of Prey, which has kind of taken that tone and just gone with it, and I don't know. I think that will be a lot of studios and a lot of people with very eagle eyes looking at how well this does next year when this comes out, seeing how it goes over with people, seeing how much money it makes, how many subscriptions HBO Max gets based on this coming out. And maybe then people will jump on bandwagons. I've already seen, obviously, release the Ayer cut. I don't know if this was a joke or if this was legit, but I swear I saw one from Paul Feig saying that there is a 3.5-hour cut exists of the 2016 Ghostbusters movie.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
No one wants to see that. Why would we want to see that? Like, no, I think we need to draw the line at some movies.
It's like, sorry, nobody was demanding the Ghostbusters director's cut.
There already was an extended. I swear, when it came out on Blu-ray, there was like 4K or something. There was an extended edition that was already released. We don't need like an extra hour or more of that movie. Like that. No, please no. Even with like Disney again, like with Rise of Skywalker, there were rumors there that there were a lot of extra scenes shot that would have been a very different movie. there's always tends to be deleted scenes on every Star Wars release, but there were no deleted scenes released on the Rise of Skywalker Blu-ray, even though we know they exist. So maybe we'll get a release the J.J. Abrams cut of Rise of Skywalker. I don't know. I think the possibilities are quite endless. I think it's a good topic to discuss. I think there's a lot to say there about the future of movies, artistic integrity, and directors' visions, and we'll just have to see how it plays over. It seems like, judging by the comments, I know we've been talking, so I haven't looked at the comments as much, but it seems like a lot of people are really championing this idea, really looking forward to it. Psycho Bevo is there defending Jared Leto's Joker. Was a great Joker. But yeah, so we're at an hour now, so I think I've pretty much said everything I can on this for right now. Obviously, if there are any more updates or anything like that, if we get any more big news, any kind of trailers or any more information, we'll probably jump on a video and talk about it at some point. But yeah, so before we end, do you want to sort of tell people where they can find you? Your links and everything are in the description, but if you want to tell people where they can maybe find you talking about more DC content and other content as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's in your video description, but the channel is Itzmoe, ITZMOE. It's on the name right there on the screen right here. And then my Instagram, More Than You Think 7, and yeah, check out the shirt.
Yes.
That Fleck Forever. And again, I just want to reiterate, let's support the movies financially. Let's tell them that they made a good decision by, putting money into this, and let's help them make back that money by going and seeing these movies. So hopefully, they won't regret the decision, and hopefully Henry will get Man of Steel too, at least. So let's talk with our talk with our money. I don't know, money talks. I don't know, whatever. But
I think Man of Steel 2 for me is like the equivalent of the Black Widow movie. It's like, why wasn't this made 5 to 10 years ago?
That's why they just need to make it. It's long overdue, I feel like. So just do it. Just give it to Henry. Come on.
Do it. So click all the clickables, subscribe to everything, follow all that good stuff, and Cinema Savvy as well. Links are all there. We've got Facebook at Cinema Savvy, Twitter at Cinema_Savvy, and Instagram at Cinema_Savvy as well. For us on Cinema Savvy, we'll be back on Thursday with another quiz at 8:30 p.m. UK time. This one's going to be based on comedy films. They're a lot of fun to do. And next Saturday, we'll be back with another drink along, which I'm very looking forward to, which is going to be Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. We're sticking with the prequels. So that's going to be a lot of fun to do this. I want to say a big thank you to you, Itzmoe, for jumping on with me today. I know that we kind of had a little bit of cross references with the time, but I'm glad that we got to do this today, and I'm glad that we had this conversation. I got to hear your take on it all, so thank you for taking.
Thank you for having me.
No worries, and I'm sure we'll work on some more crossover stuff at some points, maybe some watch-alongs. Maybe you will finally get to see Batman Forever. Who knows? But I know that we've been discussing some other stuff as well. So
I'm gonna watch it with I want to watch it with you. So I have not watched it.
Yeah.
We have to watch it together.
Oh, you're in for an experience with those movies, let me tell you. I know there has been a particular trilogy we also talked about maybe watching at some point, which we will definitely need drinks for, I think, to get through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to announce anything yet. We'll maybe get to that at some point, but there's
I'm gonna hate watching this movie, this trilogy.
I don't know if I'm committing to the trilogy yet. I'll see how I feel.
Okay, at least the first one.
We'll see. But big thank you to everyone that's jumped in the comments. We've had some great conversations going on there, lots of different opinions. So always appreciate you guys talking movies with us. We love you guys. So we'll be back on a video very soon, and stay safe, and we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching.